Hello and welcome to week 1, getting started for the course in Action Integration Framework for SAP Business One. My name is Miriam Rieger, and in this unit I will tell you about the scenario building blocks. The objectives in this unit are to describe the overall process for defining a scenario and to explain the building blocks for defining a scenario step. The development environment of the integration framework allows you to develop scenarios using point-and-click options by selecting from drop-down menus. No programming expertise is needed to develop a scenario. To define a new scenario, the first thing is to define the package and provide a name. The prefix that you specified in the development profile will be added to the package name. Then define each scenario step and associate it to the package name. For each scenario step, define the inbound, outbound and processing phases. The outbound definition is only required for asynchronous steps, where data is sent to a sender system. A step models a specific interaction between two systems. These interactions can be synchronous or asynchronous, and you can have a mix of synchronous or asynchronous steps in the package. For a simple business process with a single interaction, there will be just one step. For a more complex business process with multiple interactions, there can be several steps. A synchronous communication is a direct communication between the involved parties. It follows a request-response pattern. The sender, the caller, makes a request which triggers the step processing. The processing may make calls to external systems to enrich the data. The result of the processing phase is handed back to the caller as a response immediately. The result has to be handed back promptly during the step processing, otherwise it will run into an error. Asynchronous communication is triggered by an incoming event, call, or by a timer. During the inbound phase, the data is retrieved from the sender system. The step processing may make calls to external systems to enrich the data. The data is transformed and passed to the outbound phase for the receiver system at any time. In the design for the step, you decide how the step will be triggered, which system types communicate with each other, how the integration framework will transform the message, and if any other processing will occur, such as calls to external systems. The inbound channel describes the type of sender system, and you can select the API that the integration framework will use to retrieve the incoming data. The inbound channel options are HTTP, file, void if the scenario is triggered by a timer, web service, SAP Business One and SAP ERP. Please be aware some inbound channels are only available in newer releases. The outbound channel describes the type of receiver system, and you can select the API that the integration framework will use to hand over the data. The outbound channel options are the same as the inbound channel options: web service, HTTP, file, database, void for synchronous steps, SAP Business One and SAP ERP. For the processing phase, you select atoms using a graphical design tool, as you can see it here in the picture on this slide. Atoms are predefined functional units that you can assemble into a sequence. Atoms can be used for calling an external system, such as an SQL database or email. Each atom receives the inbound message, performs its tasks, and hands over an outbound message to the next atom. In the BizFlow Designer, you can define the step processing in the integration framework. Initially, the processing flow contains a start and end control structure with a single atom in the middle. This is a transformation atom that you can use to format the data into the final format for the receiver or caller. The name of this atom is final. This atom provides an extensible stylesheet language file, XLS, that you use to transform the data into the final structure for the receiver or caller. This aspect will be covered in more detail in the next unit. You can select additional atoms to add to the processing. To add an atom, choose the arrow in the start control structure. A list of available atoms will open and you can choose from the list. Each atom also contains an arrow so that you can add subsequent atoms to the processing flow. Let's go to the system and see how it works. In the system, you go to Scenarios and Package Design. And to add a new scenario, you click on this plus icon here. And then we create a new scenario and we add here the name. In my example, I will call it openSAP Scenario. And I click on the tab. Then the system automatically enters or adds the defined prefix, it's edu in my system, to the scenario name. I select here in the field Authentication, No Authentication, and then I can save this new scenario. Then I go to Step Design, and here I have to select my scenario. Here I have my openSAP scenario, and then I can enter here a name for the scenario step. Here you define the inbound channel, and the outbound on this side. When I click on Processing, the BizFlow opens and I see here the final atom. To add a new atom, I click on this gray arrow and I can select from the list which kind of atom I want to add. It's in this case I want to call SQL. I select this and I add this new atom to the process. Then I can close the window and this new atom is added to the process. Then I have to, when I finished everything, I have to save this definition. If you want to delete a scenario, you go under Package Design, but first you have to be sure to work in the correct prefix. Then you can select the scenario which you want to delete and you click on the trash icon to delete this scenario. The first message here is about the deletion and I say yes, I want to, or okay, I want to delete it. And the second message, system message, is about archiving, that it's recommended to archive the package. If you don't want to archive the package, then click on Cancel. And the scenario package is now deleted. Let's go back to the slides. And in this unit, you learned the overall process for defining a scenario. It is define the package define a step and associate it with the package, and then define the inbound, outbound and processing phases of the step. To make simply selections from the building blocks, the inbound channels, processing and outbound channels. Using the BizFlow Designer, where you can easily add atoms to the processing flow. In the next unit, you will see how to transform data using the transformation atom. Thank you for attending this unit and see you in the next unit. Bye bye!